You see, something's going to happen.
What? What's going to happen?
Something wonderful.
What?
I understand how you feel. You see, it's all very clear to me now.
Welcome to the Occult Rejects. In this episode, I'm very excited and very happy, and even like a little nervous, to tell you the truth. But I got the Occult Reject Mad Scientist with me tonight, Lisa, and I got my man who's been doing this series with, well, and Lisa too. I think there was only one that Lisa's kind of stepped out of. That was the ICP one, actually. But tonight we got her back with Darby O'Trill and Jin the Ninja. I know last time we went live with an artist, we had Devereaux on, and we had played some of his music that, I mean, he makes beats for ICP, Luigi Mag, and Darby. And I'm pretty sure we had brought him up, and I had really wanted to get him on because besides, I think the music that Devereaux makes, I think his beats are pretty sick. I think some of the lyrics that the people are putting over the beats are pretty deep and sick in itself. So I really would have liked to get one of them on. So I got Darby on, and we're going to probably pretty much be touching on some of the songs from Anamoya and his album Creek. One of the reasons why I wanted to have Darby on, just in my opinion, and I've said this before, and I even said this with Devereaux on. Sometimes I do think that, you know, I know you're into horrorcore. That's what this kind of would be considered. I have said over and over and over again, sometimes I do think horror does actually have some deep embedded archetypes within it. Sometimes I think it's a very easy way to kind of hand the public some real deep shit in a sense. And I identify with that. And there was, you know, some things in your music that I identified from personal experiences that I have had. And so that stuff, I guess, connects to me. It touches me in a sense, you know, and that sounds weird. But like sometimes you could be saying something, I'd be like, damn, I think I might actually have somewhat of an idea of what he's talking about. So I really wanted to get you on for that. And, you know, again, it's kind of almost like I almost wanted to, you know, sometimes horror kind of gets like a bad rap. And sometimes I don't think like it should really be taken as dark as it may look. There might actually be some deep stuff in there. So really, I guess like enough out of me now. I'm probably just rambling because I'm nervous. But we're finally going to get to Darby. Again, like I had said, he has worked with ICP. He has worked with Luigi Mac. I know you have worked with other people besides that. I guess if anything, if you don't mind, I'd like you to kind of like introduce yourself and maybe let everybody know like what your deal is, people that you've worked with, and stuff like that. If you don't mind, Darby.
Yeah, for sure. As you said, my name's Darby O'Trill. I'm signed to Chapter 17, which is Ouija Mac's record label. I work heavily with Ouija, Devereaux, Jigsaw Killa, Shaggy the Airhead, DJ Chunk. You know, that's kind of like my prime team of cohorts that or co-collaborators or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Yeah.
I make the wicked shit, which is hip hop with a horror theme to it. You know, you kind of take real life and you know, make it larger than life. And a lot of storytelling, as you said, a lot of dark themes, a lot of horror involved, a lot of outsider type thoughts involved in the process of the music. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The wicked shit.
I love it. Yeah, well, I will have to say too, I really I was kind of stuck on your Creek album for the last few days. It's really,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's I really do think that's a pretty serious album. And you know, it was funny when you had even mentioned some of the songs that you were like suggested to play. In my opinion, I think you actually picked some of the more deepest fucking ones too. And I was like, fuck, I was like, these are great picks. I'm glad you chose these because Some good stuff there.
I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. What I have gotten out of from kind of like checking out your crew, and you pretty much, I think, like summed it up for me. I'm assuming kind of like, I know Devereaux makes what I would get out of it, most of the beats, and then sometimes you do have Shaggy the Airhead who makes beats and then even raps. Does DJ Chunk, is he the one who kind of basically takes the tracks that the other guys made and then like DJs them on the stage where you guys play live?
So Chunk is Ouija's DJ. So when Ouija's like performing live, you always see Chunk behind him. But on the records, a lot of the, you know, cuts and like old school like hip hop technique that you hear there of like sample cuts and like shit like that, the wikis as we call them, that's Chunk. So on the record Anamoya, there's a song called The Trees Have Eyes. And the last verse of the song is a lot of samples and like DJ cuts, and that's Chunk.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool.
So he's on like Play-A-Low is a Ouija song that he's heavily involved in, like the cuts and all that. But yeah, he's a DJ extraordinaire.
Yo, I'd have to say he's pretty. Scratching was pretty impressive. I think you might have posted something on Twitter, and I saw it, and I retweeted it. I was like, damn, yo, I can scratch. It was impressive.
Yeah, he's sick with it.
So, what? I guess if you don't mind, like maybe we could try to like start it off from the beginning. Like, actually, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now? Because you seem like a younger guy.
I just turned 32 like a month ago, June 2nd.
Got the big one, 33, coming up next.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Already past 17. I got to go for 33. Yeah, so, I mean, compared to me, 46, you're a lot younger. God damn.
I mean, age ain't shit. You can't control your age.
It's true. It's inevitable, right?
It is what it is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with time,
it is what it is.
You don't have a choice.
I know 57-year-old people that act like they're 12. You know, age is all relative to how you are as a person.
Oh yeah, so, I agree with that. So I guess like at what age? When was it that you were like, this is what I'm going to start doing, or were you already kind of like just because you rap doesn't mean like maybe you didn't play the guitar first? I mean, were you into music prior and somehow you got into rapping, or like I guess try to set the stage of like how you became Darby O'Trill.
So I guess the most important aspect of all of this, the reason why I'm where I'm at right now, is when I was 10 years old, I found out about the Insane Clown Posse. And at that time, it was the sixth of the first deck, The Wraith of Shangri-La, was like the current record. So I remember going into, there was this place called Specs Music. I'm from South Florida. That was like a store that was like around the South Florida area. And so my aunt took me in there, and I remember like seeing the album cover and being like, oh, this is fresh. But I also had remembered like hearing like Chicken Hunting and Halls of Illusions from like people at school type shit. And then just becoming like super obsessed with it. I ended up seeing the music video for Halls of Illusions, and that like changed my entire life. And yeah, so that's pretty much where it started. My interest in like music really started when I found out about ICP and that whole world, and I just dived into it and kept listening to more and more of their music. When I was younger, 13, 14, me and my best friend Mark, we had started a punk band called Brain Dead. And so I used to play the drums and sing rap-ish at the same time. And that's kind of like my entrance into like making music, is being in a punk band. And then it just kind of grew from there. You know, it's hard to keep a band together. I was writing lyrics and like rapping and like finding a lot of enjoyment in that. So I just continued to pursue that for the rest of my life.
How did you like end up like getting in touch with somebody that like ends up getting you into the position to like, you're like, that's the thing that like I actually like am interested, like Like, is that like, was it just like somehow the universe came together correctly for you, or like, were you like reaching out and trying to like yourself like get in touch with these people and like listen to my shit? Like how does that?
Honestly, around here, a big thing is the carnival provides. And about 10 years ago on Facebook or whatever, I met Ouija, and me and Ouija became friends, and we would talk about jug shit and just like whatever music. And then, we just remained friends. And when he had an opportunity to help,
that's true,
kind of put me in a good position, he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, this is what we're doing." And I'm like, "Bet."
Yeah, I honestly I forgot. Like, you came out a little bit after him, correct?
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, in the background, we've both been making music forever.
Yeah.
Like he's like I don't know, like a few years older than me or whatever. He definitely like came out and popped off a lot earlier than I did, for sure. I mean, he's super talented. Like,
oh, yeah.
So
I think he's actually
yeah,
extremely talented, that kid.
Oh yeah. Ouija's one of the most talented people I know.
I actually think he has the chance of actually being known. I think like in the future, people will be like, that dude was a good fucking rapper.
Oh yeah, like the amount of quality music he puts out, it's usually quantity or quality with people, but Ouija somehow got it to where he does both. Like, that dude will go in a studio and record like 50 songs, and they're all good. Like, they're all just good songs. So he's just like very much tapped in with like the artistic side of himself. So, but yeah, like I owe everything to, Ouija, Devereaux, and Shaggy there. Like, those are the, and KB at C17. But like, those are all the people that helped me like get to where I'm at, where I'm able to like go out and do shows with my idols and shit, and like,
awesome.
Have a much wider audience hear what I'm creating.
All right. I do have some like random, real quick questions I said I was going to ask, and I will go through those just real quick. Do you have any pets?
I do. I have a cat named Proto.
Proto. Nice. What's behind the name, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, it's like a long, drawn-out story. Don't worry about it.
No, it's funny because I literally just told this story last night. When I got the cat, he already had the name Proto, and this dude named him Proto Man after like the Mega Man games. And I was just like, I always call him like Protozoa or Prototype or like anything else but that. I don't know shit about Mega Man or whatever,
I do.
But
I remember that shit.
Yeah. Devereaux is a Mega Man fan. He loves Mega Man.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's how he got his name. And I was gonna change it like when he was young, but I'm like, it's a different name, whatever. People always think his name's Frodo, like from Lord of the Rings or whatever, but it's Proto.
Nice. Are you into wrestling? I think I kind of already know that answer, but.
So I'm into wrestling, but probably not as much as people think I am. Like, growing up, I stayed with my aunt and uncle a lot as a kid. My uncle's favorite thing to do was sit in the living room and yell at wrestling matches. So, that it's always been like a part of my life. Like, I have, like Undertaker and Mick Foley DVDs and stuff. The last show I did was a JCW show in Detroit, which is Psychopathic Records, like wrestling division. So I have like a great respect for wrestling. I find it very entertaining, but I couldn't tell you anything about the greatest storylines of all time. And like, I've watched the Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley a million times though. So that's
nice.
Mick Foley's the shit to me, just because I always get told I look like him.
Oh, yo, I can see that, Mankind. Holy shit.
Yeah, well,
you just got to get you a sock, dude. Got to get you a sock.
I used to wear a ski mask and it was ripped in a way that it just looked like black bandages around my face. So I was doing shows and people would be like, "Yo, Mankind," and I'm like, "All right, cool. At least that's someone cool to be compared to."
I actually had, before I made the thumbnail for the show, I actually had a picture of you with like the ski mask on instead, and I'm like, he really doesn't use this anymore, so why am I gonna like, I was like, it's.
So, it's funny because for this last tour, Shaggy the Airhead has a clothing company called Lazy and Crazy, and he had recently put out some new ski masks. So he sent me some, and I cut them all up and did them up like I used to. I would just cut holes in the mask and smudge face paint all over them. Nice. So that is something that's like never truly gone. That's always like a part of like the character, whatever, the image.
Yeah.
Who I am, I guess. I don't know.
Another question. Because I think I heard you mention, are you a Trauma fan? Trauma movies?
Oh, heavily. Trauma plays a huge part in all of this. I have a rubber chicken hanging up in the corner of my room that's signed by Lloyd Kaufman.
Really?
That's
cool.
One of my homies, she was like working with them, and she like got him to like FaceTime me and like send me this chicken. But I like Toxic Avenger, Terror Firmer, Poultry Guys. Like me and my homie, like our punk band was called Brain Dead, but it started as Dead Alive, and it's based off the old Peter Jackson film. Like old B horror movies is like my bread and butter. That's like besides ICP is like the basis of everything I'm doing.
Yo, that's when the
B horror movie.
Yo, isn't that when the guy's got the lawnmower and he's like chopping them? Yo, that shit is hilarious.
Yeah.
Brain Dead. Yeah, it was like that little thing at the beginning, like bit one person and like fucked the whole thing up, right?
Yeah, the Sumerian rat monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, that shit's classic.
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's funny. Yeah, I think I heard you mention something in one of your songs, something about trauma, and I was like, holy shit, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, I have like a whole bookshelf full of trauma movies and old B movies, old Italian like giallo films or whatever, shit like that. I like the gore and the effects, the practical effects they use in the movies. I think it's really cool how like they made so much with so little,
Do you because you mentioned people knowing Lloyd Kaufman, did you know he was another B movie maker? He did actually work with Lloyd Kaufman and did work on something that I think never got released by Trauma, and then he ended up releasing himself. Chris Seaver, did you ever hear of him? Warlock Home Video, he did Teen Ape and shit like that.
Teen Ape and
Teen Ape Goes to Camp and some other
McNasty or Filthy McNasty. Yo,
I know those dudes, man.
So Filthy McNasty has consumed my life recently. Me and my girlfriend, because I know the story that it was like a side movie they made that they snuck onto an Anchor Bay like thing as like a bonus or some shit. So Tubi has been like the coolest thing in the world because it's a bunch of free movies, and it's a bunch of dope shit. There's like hella trauma stuff on there. My girlfriend, she was here and we were like looking up movies and stuff, and I'm like, I'm an idiot, so I'm always gonna find what I think looks like the craziest, most outrageous shit and put it on and be like, all right, we all gotta watch this now. So me and my girlfriend watched the first 3 Filthy McNasty movies like in a row, and we're just dying laughing at this. And so now I'm just like on this hunt to find Filthy McNasty paraphernalia and shit.
Yo, that is so funny.
It's so I'm gonna tell my girl that this got brought up, and she's gonna be like, "There's no fucking."
Yo, I'll tell the dude to hit you up. I'll tell the dude to hit you up and see if he's got any DVDs he could send you or whatever. He'll probably be surprised. Be like, "Holy shit, somebody's watching Filthy McNasty."
Dude, I love it. Filthy McNasty, Filthy McNastier, Filthy McNasty. It's like they're all. I love it. I love it. So it's funny because like everything is kind of connected and like of course, like you would bring up some very niche thing that I'm like, yeah, only we know about this, and then it's just like that's your homie. Like that's tight as fuck. That's
yeah. He's from New York too. I made him. Yeah, actually, I'm not gonna say which one, but I actually produced one of his movies too.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, yo, make a movie, and I gave him money.
That's tight. That's super tight.
Yeah, I love this shit. I thought it was off the wall, and like it was cheaply done. So I was like, this is I entertained the thought, and just was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, like Teen Ape is ridiculous. Like that. That's so fresh. That's like the dopest thing I've heard all day.
Yeah, you gotta definitely check out Teen Ape versus the Nazi Apocalypse. That shit is fucking off the hook. It was one of his last like really good ones. It's hilarious. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now back to you before we start talking about these movies. Sorry, that was awesome. Wow.
Oh, yeah, I'll go all day about this shit.
Yeah.
I love like B horror cinema.
That shit's hilarious. What's your favorite day of the week?
Favorite day of the week? Damn, I never really thought about that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Wednesday.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Wednesday's cool. It's like the middle of the week. You really know if your week has sucked or not if you get to Wednesday and it's going all right.
That's very true. That's a good point. Are you interested or into alchemy?
So my knowledge on things of that nature is very, very small, very limited. I've read things, I've seen movies and stuff. I don't necessarily practice anything or like have full convictions or studies on anything like alchemy, but I respect it for what it is. I think it, there's definitely a lot of benefits for people who do choose to, do alchemy and shit like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. Then have you ever heard of the alchemist Michael Meyer? I mean, I don't, probably not. Then.
No.
Okay.
No, I just know the Michael Myers from Halloween.
Yeah, that's what Devereaux said too. The reason I asked that is because Michael Meyer, he was an alchemist and he was into ciphers. And in 8 Ways to Die, Isham says Psycho Ciphers Michael Meyer, and I'm like, is he talking about the alchemist who wrote ciphers, or is he talking about the killer? So it was just maybe if you guys knew who he was, it would make more sense. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, fuck, with Isham, you never know, because that could be like a multi-layered reference that he's making. Because
it's the same thing Devereaux said.
Very smart dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
All right, move on. Do you like to read?
I do enjoy reading. I haven't done it in a minute, though. I just, hearing that, like, I guess it's different now because, like when I hear reading, I think of like sitting down with a book, but then it's like a lot of reading is done through articles and like, things online now. So I guess it's like I am reading every day. Like every day I'm learning something, but it's not necessarily like, I'm looking at my bookshelf. I have like a few books over there and it's like horror books and Fear and Loathing and shit like that. But when I was young, I really enjoyed reading. I would be reading books all the time, specifically like horror books and stuff of that nature. And then, yeah.
All right. Are you into science and human anatomy?
In a way, yeah, you could say, yeah.
Honestly, some of the reasons why I'm...
It's like a big flesh suit being piloted around by this little thought bubble. Like, it's crazy,
Could you ever look at it as like almost basically like a prison? I mean, I have to go out there like right away, but...
What, being your flesh suit as a prison? All the time. I have like many references to that in my music of feeling trapped inside this body that I can't necessarily... You're in control, but you're not in control of everything, like I can walk, but if all of a sudden I have a cancerous tumor growing in me, I can't just like say no and like get rid of that. Like if my heart stops, it stops. and like there's not necessarily an amount of control over that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was because like recently me and Lisa were covering it's probably going to be a few episodes long, covering like blood, or the topic of blood in occultism, and like eventually get into touch on adrenochrome and the misconceptions of that I think that goes around. When it when we were starting to look at the blood and just like in occult references and just from my experience with magic, I was like, considering like we got iron flowing through our fucking blood, it's like, for real, it's like our veins are even fucking like cell bars to our soul being stuck inside this flesh suit.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to start looking at it in a weird, wild, maybe occult way, I was like, God damn. I was like, even our veins are bars.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Next questions. And now I'm asking this again just due to, I mean, I think some of the songs you might have even suggested to play the lyrics in there would make me assume that you are, but are you into like or interested in Latin American witchcraft, magic, or occultism?
So there's definitely an interest there. As I said, like I'm not like a practicing occultist. I don't know much of like arcane magic or anything. I know like I've seen things and read things that have like piqued an interest and maybe have like stuck with me in like a subconscious way. Growing up, my mother was very much into the idea of witchcraft and had many books, and that was like, just a part of like growing up was like her talking about certain things like that, and I don't have any relationship with that woman or anything, but it's something that like kind of like when I was young, I saw it a lot, and it kind of like stuck with me in a way. And I find it interesting, like there's so many different ways to view the world and view our circumstances, and with a lot of that, a lot of things make sense that I've read, but I've never really like dived deep into anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. I do think we've gone a little bit longer than I would have liked to have before I played some of your music. I was kind of hoping to do that right away. I'm gonna pull up Graveyard Shift. That was one of the songs you suggested to play. And that does have a Ouija Mac in it. There are songs that I have of Darby's that I will be playing that's just him, so you can actually just, hear his stuff. But this is a song that he did with Ouija Mac, and here is I'm going to play the video too, so let me pull that up. Oops, sorry, wrong song. Oh boy, that's what happens when you're live and stoned.
All good, man. All good.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Decree no scraping up out of the cut. Blood of a demon and gin in my cup. Came with the heat, but I'm keeping it tucked. Speak to the dead when I'm ripping up blood. The moon will rise forever, block out the rays of the sun. Cut a fuckboy into fractions, can paint my face with the blood. Being vegan with my OG, break bread with my day ones only. Got no time for jabronis, a fake ass backstabbing homies. Done said I'm juggalo, so don't think you'll get to know me. By the time you think you close, I'll put your ass 6 feet below me, Brody. I've been digging these graves for days. 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 I've been digging graves, dig a ditch. We gon' fit way more bodies in that bush. Broke the handle off the shovel, smacking bodies with the stick. I remember when the smell of death would make me sick. But I'm so much better now. C-17's working now. Silence never working now. Everything is working now. Yeah. And the bodies piling up, digging holes in the moonlight. Then we fill them up. I've been digging these graves for days. I've been digging. I've been digging these graves for days. 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 I've been digging.
Are you experiencing anemoia?
All right. It's a pretty impressive video right there. You know, it's funny, and I didn't even have any of these questions, and I was like, fuck. So, like, that video just gave me a bunch of questions to ask, and actually not really specific to the video, but I guess first off, who does come up? I'm assuming from what I got out of it, psychocidal. It kind of looked like from some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that Ouija showed that maybe he's actually kind of coming up with the video himself. Maybe I'm wrong. But whose idea, or like who even designed the visuals for this video? Who came up with that video?
Ouija.
Okay.
Yeah, Ouija's like the driving force. Like I said, Ouija's a very talented, artistic person, and he has a very intense vision for the product that he is creating. And so he's very hands-on with the video. Like, I had like a couple little, things like say-sos and stuff, but for the most part, like, yeah, he's a driving force behind that.
It's interesting. Well,
yeah.
I mean, for me, for me as an occultist and with certain experiences that I had, if I was going to try to convey a message, I'm going to make sure I do it my way, not let somebody else fuck it up. So, I mean, I can understand that, like, sometimes maybe you're just going to be very passionate, nonstop, always working on something. I mean, it's kind of like why I podcast, because if I didn't podcast, I'd probably be obsessed with fucking with magic. So, I'll put my passion into this, or I'll end up like Joe Biden in 3 or 4 years, and my brain will be fucking mush.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, so I guess, like, what does that song, like, mean to you, I guess?
I mean, that's a very interesting question, because, like, a lot of the songs are, like, there's always aspects of, oneself and, like, the music and everything. There's also, like, a lot of the music in this, like, genre is a lot of entertainment. So it's always me trying to convey myself and how I'm feeling in the most entertaining way possible, right? And that song is kind of just like, there's like different categories of songs, right? There's like the storytelling songs and like the introspective songs. And then there's the songs that we kind of call like the flex song, where it's just us kind of like, flexing ourselves and like our, I guess, quote unquote skills or whatever you would want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like that song. It was a lot of fun to make. It was a lot of fun to do the video, because again, like, me and Ouija are very similar, and we think we do a lot of similar things without like even realizing it. And that's happened like the entire time that we've known each other. Like, he'll post something and I'll be like, damn, I literally just went and took pictures in the same type of place doing the same type of thing. So we're kind of like, connected minds in a way. So that song's just like, us showing that in a sense. Just trying to make a dope song.
Yeah. Is there something, only because I have noticed it, I know we're not getting on, when it comes to, I guess since I'm asking about the video, I mean, fuck, there's like so many questions I want to ask, and I don't want to get stuck on like too long on one of them. I want to go back to the video, but like real quick, even when it comes to album covers, who determines that? Is that you?
I mean, that's a group effort, like for like my solo work, it'll be like me and, it's like we'll come up with a concept, like for Creek, it's like me standing in a creek with my arms open.
Yeah, you'll see
like
that when I play the next song. You see the album cover.
So I like saw that cover like in my head, and I was at my homie King Zab's house. Zab and Magi, they're out in LA. They're part of a group called Scythe Gang. Shout out them. Anyway, I drew the cover. I just drew a doodle. Zab posted the doodle of it too. And so that was me. But with Anamoya, that was kind of like me and Ouija like bouncing ideas off of each other. And then he kind of came up with the concept. And the concept just became like the final cover. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, Ouija gets the props on the Anamoya cover for sure.
Gotcha.
But it's usually like a group effort, like a lot of stuff I do, like I'll run it by like Devereaux and Shaggy the Airhead, because they're like, also a big part of the record. Just like make sure everyone's like kind of seeing the same vision for things, making sure I'm not doing something that's like completely stale.
What I want to know, like, what's it like even like doing the video? I mean, is it like what's it, explain like a day of like going to shoot a video. What is that going to be like?
It's probably a lot more work than people understand it to be. Graveyard Shift is like a 2.5 minute long song, but we were out there in the desert shooting that video all day. We were all sunburnt to shit afterwards. Everyone was like red as hell, crispy, but it's a lot of like running a scene, thinking of how to make that scene better, rerunning it, working with the time constraints of like, especially with a video like that, we're shooting outside. So like the sun and the moon are kind of against us at that point as to who's going to take over the day. And, like there was one point where we were like in the van and we started like throwing the money out the windows and stuff. And there was like multiple scenes we did, like versions of that. And like, you only see like one little second of that in the video, but we did that for about an hour, and we were really out there with shovels, digging holes. And, and it's like a small crew, like, Uneven Archive, our homie Ben, he's the one who shot the video. Him and his boy Adam came out. They had like the drone shot. So it's like, two people kind of like choreographing where the cameras are going to go. And then of course, like Ouija being like, but this is the vision, like, let's keep it within this. And same with me, like everyone giving input and all that. So it's just like, it's like a job in a way, where you just kind of.
Oh shit! It looked like you froze for a second.
Going with like a shot list, and like you're just checking off the shots as you get them.
What is it like with like? Are they constantly like when you guys, I guess, recording? Is there actually music playing, or is there like a beat or something? Yeah. We'll have like
speakers out there playing the music, so we're like rapping along and being on time with everything. And this way, when they go into edit, they can just line it up with the song, get everything where it needs to be.
Are you like tired of hearing your own shit by the time you're done?
It's weird. Like sometimes, yeah, sometimes no. It depends. Like usually we try to like, especially for a video, we'll try to pick the song that we like the most or whatever, whatever we think is the best song for a video. So by the time it's over, like, it's either we hate it and then we're like, oh, should this video even come out? Or we're like, no, that's a fucking good song. And like, that's tight. People are going to enjoy it because we enjoy it. But like, I'll go through periods when I'm like creating an album and I'll hear something so many times and like, I'll be cool with it. But once the album is out, I won't listen to it for a while. Like, I'll listen to the album a million times before it comes out. But once everyone else has it, then I'm like, all right, my child has been adopted by other people. Time to go get a new one.
I can understand that. I really don't like listening to myself after I put out an episode, so it just weirds me out. I don't know why.
For a while, I really hated the sound of my own voice, and it's just something I had to get over, like pursuing music, where it's like, well, you gotta listen to yourself, like get over it, get over yourself type shit.
All right, so I'm going to go into a song. More of this really has more, I guess, of like me maybe seeing something in your lyrics that maybe I've like seen or experienced. And that is Sage Allergy. And I do think I have seen, I'm going to read some of the lyrics, but I do think like I could be wrong. I mean, I know I've heard Violent J say it. Oh, fuck, what was that song? I was listening to it recently. Does your black sun eclipse and shit like that. But, I'm pretty sure you've mentioned the black hole sun eclipse maybe more than once. So that's what I'm going to get to. But in Sage Allergy, you say the faces I see in the smoke, they hypnotize and mesmerize. I'm a walking void, a human who has nothing left inside. I was halfway through a junt. I'm assuming that means joint for you, right?
Yeah, a joint is like any smokable object.
Oh, okay. When the woman
usually marijuana though.
Okay, gotcha.
We're not smoking crack or anything.
No, actually, I didn't even think that. I assumed it was probably cigarettes. When the woman in red arrived, now that's the thing I always talk about, like the Scarlet Whore. I even covered I did like a 5-part series on the Scarlet Whore, and it's kind of going along with the whole blood thing, but. She extended her hand and pulled me deep into the echo side. I took a hit, took a trip. I ain't ever smoked no shit like this. Sanity slipped. This is where it gets good for me. Sanity slipped. I can't get a grip. Watching the black hole sun eclipse. As I drift, the sky drips. I lost track where my mind is. I now exist within the pit, true to my lips. I can now hear the witch. That whole part right there, like, kind of like blew me away. Something I meant to even ask you earlier probably was about like I don't know if you meditate or not, but there's times when I meditate to where I will, see an eclipse.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
And like it even will start to look like, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. It almost starts to look like flowers blooming or explosions. And sometimes I have wondered if that's like the flowers blooming underneath the moonlight. Like I've heard things kind of mentioned like that before. But I will start to see this eclipse, and eventually, if I hold on to it, it gets like closer. On my show, I have explained that I do think I have experienced magic or magical effects. And there are certain things that just happen succinctly before that happens. And for me, I always bring up that I see this eclipse and then these colors, and then there's like an explosion. And for me, my experience, I'm like slipping out of my flesh suit of this prison that I'm in. When I read that black sun eclipse, just for me, man, that's where it brought me. And like, when you say like sanity slip, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's a total different experience, but like when I had this experience, there's like a split second where it's like, if you let fear even start to come up, like you almost start to like almost like really start mind fucking yourself. But besides that, there is a physical slip that I have felt, and I brought it up on the show. It almost feels like running water going through me, or my body turning into like butterflies or something to that effect. So like sanity slipping, and then eventually goes out the top of my fucking head. So like that's my experience. I will go into these meditations. I will see that black hole eclipse, and if I hold on to it and keep going, I eventually feel like I'm sucked out of my top of my head, and I have a magical experience. I don't know if that's where you're going with that, but that's what I identified with.
I mean, very close. Very close. I mean, the song does have, somewhat to do with smoking, like, smoking weed. And I know for myself, whenever I smoke, which I kind of said earlier, like, I kind of get into a different state of mind, where I'm just like very much here but not here.
Well, not to interrupt you, just real quick, like whenever I've had these experiences, I've realized for me, I might even actually have to chill out on the smoking, because it almost feels like if I get pretty stoned, it's like almost like I'm going into that without even trying. Like I almost feel like I'm starting to get the slipping out of myself. And I'm like, I wasn't even trying to meditate. Where the fuck's this coming from? So I'm wondering like if maybe that's why when you smoke, sometimes that might be more intense for you than others.
Yeah, the sanity slips definitely has a lot to do with like dealing with like anxieties. And a lot of time when I smoke, like if I smoke like a certain strain or whatever, I'll be in my head and it'll be crazy. And it'll be like a very weird experience for me. And like it gets scary sometimes, which, I'll go through long bouts of like not smoking weed or anything, because I'm just like, damn, this just kind of fucking completely rearranged my brain and like my way of thinking and like where I'm at. But I mean, that's just like the kind of like the main idea of the song, because that's one of the songs from Anamoya that Ouija like presented to me. He had the hook, he had his verse, so I just went in and tried to make my part make sense with his part as well, while also like kind of talking about things that I'm like interested in or feelings I felt or things of that nature, So,
awesome.
and like the whole song, there's kind of like in my part, there's like a weird like when I'm smoking, it's almost like the black hole sun is kind of like when the eclipse, it's like the portal to another realm. And like the spiritual aspect of it, where there's like other things that play like going on in my head while I'm like in the song, smoking or whatever. So. But
is that like a thing that you will see in your mind's eye?
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't had too many people actually ever tell me that.
Yeah,
it was one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on.
It'll be like a very just like.
Is it like a faint little pin dot at first, and then eventually?
No, it's usually about this. It's like just a large, it's got the rings and like the brightness coming off of it, and then I'll get like. When I get to that point, I'll feel like weird like pains in my joints. You said you feel like butterflies and stuff. I feel kind of like the opposite. I get like weird pains in my like body and shit from that. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That went way better than I expected. I
have a quick question. From a biologist standpoint. When smoking, have you associated whether certain strains lead you to specific feelings when you smoke that specific strain, in that like it could embody an actual, because with shamanism they believe each strain or each plant has its own entity, its own spirit or whatever. Would you say that each strain has its own specific characteristic?
I would say so, like for the most part, because I know sativas will definitely get me on a way different thought pattern. Like I'll be very much disconnected from myself and reality for a time. Like I was just telling my girlfriend, like when I was on tour, I was smoking a lot just to like pass the time, and at the end of it, I'll feel just very like disconnected. but it's mainly what sativas and me don't really get along too well. And indicas is when I can kind of like think more in like positive thoughts and be more okay with things and more with the flow of things. But yeah, I would definitely say like different strains, different things in general that alter the mind definitely open different doors and shit for me.
That's very interesting. Extremely interesting.
That was a great question, Lisa. I just want to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was.
Is there anything you want to ask, Jim, before I move on?
I mean, I'm just kind of in awe at this, that I'm included in this, so I'll just let you guys go. But I think it's really awesome. I mean, I'm the same way. I can't smoke sativas either because, I don't know, the indicas help me bring me into my body more. So that's, I identify with that. I understand that. So, yeah.
I do have. I was gonna play one of your other songs. It'll be like the video, but not like it's gonna show your album cover, Creek, and it's. I actually really like. I really like this one. I hate people who don't know when to shut up. All right, so here we go.
Low-key stressed out at the function in the corner tweaking. Popping pills pressed with the essence of my inner demons. Speaking with the walls, they tell me all their darkest secrets. Vomit down the carpet and the rat crawls up and starts to eat it. My heart is beating at a rapid pace. My head's a place where all the madness waits. I wanna leave, but I have to stay. If I get up, I'll just collapse and fade. Under my skin where the righteous cry. Inside my head where the demons are. Under my skin where the righteous cry. Inside my head where the demons are. The taste of the toxin takes hold of my tongue. With every minute I'm colder and numb. My mind I with the black hole of a rug. It creeps in my mouth and then swallows my lungs. One drop of rain takes 100 days to fall. I begin to see the light of tomorrow upon the wall. My veins are tunnels where the creatures crawl. Flesh into gear as chemicals dissolve. I think my soul is peeling out its broken mold. New bark is growing over, it will soon replace the old. The discomfort has begun to settle in. It has found its home within the layers of my skin. I feel nothing and everything all at once. Counting strands on the webs the spider legs have spun. Digging through my flesh to find the golden bone. My back against the linoleum flooring of my mobile home. The weight of the world is too much for any rope to hold. Is anybody out there with the soul alone? Let me know. Frozen cold, but I am soaked in my own sweat. Scratching at my neck, breathing through a cigarette. Feeling perplexed as I sink in my bed. The wet mixed with blood, I'm afraid of what's next. Under my skin where the righteous cry. Under my skin, under my skin, under my skin, under my skin. Inside my head where the demons are. Inside my head, inside my head, inside my head, inside my head, inside my head. Under my skin where the righteous cry. Under my skin, under my skin, under my skin, under my skin, under my skin. Inside my head where the demons are. Inside my head, inside my head, inside my head, inside my head, inside my head. The bag is empty, baby, so am I. Light the fire so my soul will fly. I wanna crawl into a hole and die. That's the only way I'll feel alive. The walls are moving, my body's shaking. I don't even know half of the shit I'm taking. There is no chance of saving me. I'm trapped inside a prison made of sacred G. Life is make-believe, I am make-believe. Getting stuck inside the screen of a broken TV. I scream, nobody hears me. Goodbye, I'm disappearing. The pins and needles sharpen as I'm consumed by darkness.
Great track, man. I love that song, actually. That
Yeah,
shit's sick.
so that's actually a song called "I Use Roach Guts to Sweeten My Coffee."
Oh, what did I
That's
play? Okay. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's the last song on Creek, which is funny because that's the first song
Oh,
we
yeah,
made
fuck.
for the record.
Yeah, my bad. I played that other song.
But
that one's a bugged out song. That was actually one. Yeah, I'll let you. I'll let you say what you want to say about it first. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's it's weird because for me, that's like the darkest song on the record because that kind of really dives into a lot of personal griefs I've had with life and myself. And yeah, that's like easily one of the darkest songs I have just because it's so real. Not to take like a weird dive, but a lot of it has to do with like addiction and depression, which is something like I struggled with for a large part of my life. So like, yeah, that song, it kind of hits different for me. Like I know a lot of people think of it as one way, but that's like as real as it can kind of get. Like a lot of those, like the descriptive shit in there is like real, you know.
Damn. Okay.
Darby, I have a quick question. I'm sorry, Nick.
Mhm.
I just want to ask what the roaches metaphor, what does that mean to you? Because I know Nick had asked me about this because I know a little bit about Chinese medicine and why one would use roaches in their coffee. And in Chinese medicine, you use cockroaches to clear ulcers. So I guess we were both curious if that had any correlation or what you meant by it in your own words.
So the first album I ever put out as Darby O'Trill was called Ulcer. And so looking to find, you know, I know about like the roaches being like a thing, like certain bugs having certain properties that heal stomach wounds and stuff. I've had a very messed up stomach my whole life. A lot of it comes from doing things I shouldn't have been doing, you know, and kind of putting myself there. It's also like, I know like for a lot of my song titles don't make sense, but it's kind of to like attract the listener to be like, what the hell is this song about? And so like I use roach guts to sweeten my coffee has kind of like a multiple like meanings to it, you know. I mean, you're right about like the ulcer thing, like that's definitely like a part of it, you know. And like the roaches under the skin is just a correlation to certain feelings experienced when under the influence of certain chemicals.
Wow. So that was correct. I really wasn't sure about the whole cockroach thing. I was like, what is the odds of that, though? I thought that was so specific, though, like how, you know, because there was a weird thing, though. I don't know, maybe you might remember it more, Lisa, but like when we and her were talking about the cockroaches and the coffee, somehow we spurred off into something that brought up kidney stones, which goes back to Anemoia.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring that up. Well, because we're talking about how like roach guts in and of itself is more of an alkaline type substance because of the high protein content. I mean, they do consume enormous amounts of glucose, but there is some sort of alkalinic type substantiation to the actual gut. And so if you think about it, whenever you apply it to an acid, it actually neutralizes and brings the pH up to a more neutral like type pH, so to speak, right? And so it like brought the whole yin yang thing, the alchemy, the alkaline acid, what have you. So we started talking about some of the lyrics in these songs, and we're talking about the trees have eyes. And I was like, this reminds me of the shaman that I talked to when I was in Peru. And I said, it's so weird because when we were in Peru, they had this tree and they called, I think it was called changla or something like that of some sort. And I forget what it was called in Quechua, but they had a specific name for it, and it directly translated into breaker of kidney stones. But yet no one in Peru has kidney stones. So it seemed weird that this plant would exist to cure kidney stones when no one in that Peruvian area had kidney stones. And Nick was like, look up the next song on the album. And I was like, what? And so I looked it up and it said kidney stones. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, how that story went from Trees Have Eyes to that one. And I had no idea that the next song was Kidney Stones. Like I was like, I'm done. I don't even know how that story even came out of my mouth. And then how it was actually the title of the next song. So it was very, I was mind blown for sure.
Yeah, like I don't know if that worked out like that or what, but I was just like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah,
it was pretty
really
impressive.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, because that's wild.
I'm not even making it up. I mean, I wish I was, but I wasn't. Like, because the whole trees have eyes, because they talk about how they have to go into the forest and they do all this stuff, and the tree or the plants themselves tell them who they are, their name, what they're used for, whatever, and that is how they learn what plant is for what. And so that's what I brought up the kidney stone plant, and I'm still blown by it. That happened.
That's pretty insane, to be honest. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? In between me deciding what song I'm going to go into next, what is it? Oh, you know what? I'm going to ask a different question. I do have to remember to ask you about a juggalo, but what? I think you kind of said it before, in a sense. I guess with that last song, is there sometimes deeper meanings in your lyrics that you want some of your listeners to like, kind of look in, like, maybe even like, oh, what are they saying there, and go read the lyrics and actually kind of like maybe go off and learn something else? Like, is there like sometimes you want people to like kind of see like what you're getting at?
I mean, sometimes I do enjoy when people are able to take things I've said and like correlate it to their own life, because like as like an artist that is solely just like my instrument is my voice and my thoughts, so it's just like at the end of the day I'm just kind of like a vessel for like a collective thought pattern. So like there's people that are going to hear that and really understand what I'm saying, and then there's people that will misconstrue things, and that's the only time I would really want someone to kind of like go back and like reevaluate what they're hearing, because I know there's some things I said where people will interpret it as some like completely off the fucking wall type shit, when it's like, nah, But a lot of it, I do try to put in like the connective tissue for people and like the deeper meanings, because that's what's gonna make people go back to the song and find value in it if there's something that they truly connect to. Because anyone could just be like, oh, I'm the shit, I'm this and that, but a lot of my music kind of deals with like the human condition more than anything. And a lot of it's just wrapped up in like little horror stories and shit.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you brought up horror, because that was the other song, the other question I was going to ask you before we went into another song of yours. What made you choose like horrorcore as an outlet of artistic expression?
Honestly, it's just because that's what I'm into. Like Insane Clown Posse is my favorite band of all time. Like, my home wall behind me is like ICP flyers and posters and shit. Like, so like finding them opened my eyes to what can be done with like hip hop, because up until then, you know, I only had known like, you know, traditional type shit, and I've never been a hip hop head. I'm not like, I couldn't tell you shit about like Wu-Tang Clan or Biggie or Tupac or anything. I don't listen to any of that. Like, I've never listened to any of that. ICP opened my eyes to like what could be done with rap, where it like connected to me more. And through that, I found like the whole realm of horrorcore, and there's, you know, like dudes like Scum and Dark Half and, you know, like all the OGs of the scene, like where it was a lot of like very extreme music. It was almost like the metal music that I was into as well, just in a different form. So, and for me, like, that's just how my brain works, you know? Like, a lot of the times, like, I'll go back and listen to songs and I'll be like, damn, I can't even think about how, like, I said that, you know? But it's just how my brain works. My brain is just very tied into, like, horror and, like, wicked shit. Like,
yeah, no, well, I mean,
things.
even before, I guess, like, we were talking about trauma and stuff. I mean, obviously, like, you're into horror if you know what that shit is. So, like, I guess you're just predisposed to it, which could easily even be why I say myself, I think if I was ever to try to do something occult, for me, I think it would be real easy for me to do it in horror. You know, if I was to ever try to, like, put something out with occult undertones. Oh, with that last song, with Cockroaches in Your Coffee, because of I did have a question about, like, even how that song came about. That beat is very different. Like, I'm sure, like, if I was to, like, have the vocals removed, I'd be, like, thinking that could possibly be Skinny Puppy, or it could be Devereaux, whoever. You know, it's, like, very different. Did you have the lyrics and you sent it to him and he's like, oh, maybe this beat works? Did he send you that beat and you were like, oh, let me put this over it? How did that different type of beat come together with those lyrics?
So that is the only song that Devereaux and I have completely made in person.
Wow.
So I just got off tour, and we were in Indiana at our homie Jigsaw's house, who's another, like, artist. He produces on my next record, and he's a rapper and shit, but that's, like, our good friend. And so we're at his house, and he's got, like, his setup there. And going back to horrorcore, I'm like a encyclopedia of really shitty music, to a point where it's like, I know a lot of really early horrorcore acts and shit that I used to watch all the time. And there was one of them, and that's where the sample comes from. And so Dev, like, heard that, like, kind of vocal harmonizing thing at the beginning of this beat, and it kind of had, like, the snare drum hit. So Dev just looped that, and I wrote my lyrics right there. And it just happened to be, like, I just got off a tour that was kind of, it was, like, a really rough tour, like an independent, you know, shit. And then literally the day we made that song, we had just gone to Violent J's 50th birthday party in Milwaukee. And so we, like, went to this show. We were with all our friends and everything. And then we got back and just kind of made that. But that's, like, the first song, like, that's the first beat that Devereaux and I had made, like, in person, and the only song we've actually done where I, like, wrote the lyrics and he made the beat, like, on the spot. There's a video of me just, like, goofing around, like, you know, messing with that vocal melody in our homie Jigsaw's basement and shit. But
Awesome. All right. Got a totally answer I didn't actually expect at all. Nice. Before we go into the next song, real quick, what is a juggalo to you? I know that maybe that'd be quick, but
it's a loaded question, and you know, to me, being a juggalo is everything, because everything good in my life comes from being a juggalo. Like, everything in my life that makes me happy today, everything, like, that I care about, comes from being a juggalo. You know, like, my career, my friends, my girlfriend, like everything comes from this. You know, a million people have said it over and over, but being a juggalo is like being in the world's biggest family, because it's really a bunch of people that weren't necessarily accepted by mainstream conventions and, you know, the outsiders, but we can all get together, and there's no, you know, unless you're like a fucking, you know, a real piece of shit, we're going to love you here. You're going to be accepted here. Like, you can walk around with your meat hanging out. You can have one eye and 3 arms. You can, you know, just be yourself, be free, as long as you're not like, you know, being a piece of shit.
All right.
Like, yeah, it all comes down to being a family, and, you know, juggalos all look out for each other. We all take care of each other. We all care about each other. It's the most beautiful thing in the world that people think is so hideous because it's covered in clown paint and Faygo. But it's literally saved my life and saved thousands of other people's lives, you know? I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for me being a juggalo.
Yeah, you think that? For real?
Oh, 100%, yeah, 100%.
That's a pretty profound thing to say. So I guess,
yeah, and to some, it may just seem like some silly little thing, but life for the rest of us, you know, it's no different than being I mean, it is, because it's like, it's just, there's a lot that goes into it, you know, there's a lot of lore with like the music, there's a lot of, you know, just like experiences that come from this, you know.
No, I hear
you. Yeah, I mean, you ask any juggalo, they're going to give you a different answer, but that's my answer.
Yeah, no, listen, man, I mean, it's not right or wrong. Who am I to say?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
no,
sure.
Thank you. That was a good answer. All right, so this song was another one that I really think was good, and I wanted to, Mac is in this as well for a little bit. I thought this was a little bit different style, and again, like, it kind of, I think, shows a little bit of the diversity. This one is a moon fit for building castles. What's the fuck? Shit, what's the rest of it? Under something, right?
Not just a moon fit for building castles.
That's what I thought. For some reason, it said no. It says that in the fucking. I don't know how I saved the video. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm like, wait, what's that extra shit in the title? Here we go.
Used to think things will change, but I'm over that. Used to think life was strange, but it's more than that. Used to have a good heart, but I've broken that. Used to be scared of death, now I hope for that. Used to think things will change, but I'm over that. Used to think life was strange, but it's more than that. Used to have a good heart, but I've broken that. Used to be scared of death, now I hope for that. Growing up, everybody said I was odd. I always kept to myself, it was obsessed with the macabre. I told my therapist my cause of death would be God. She wrote me up a script and then she sent me right off. The pills did the job, but less than half of the time. All they did was cloud the thoughts that I kept in my mind. I found escaping music in the movies I like, but I can't escape the fact that I am dying inside. Here alone I listen to the voice within the walls. It tells me that I am a loser and everything is my fault. Walking through my house I see illusions in these halls. I watch all of the things I love slowly melt and dissolve. Used to think things would change, but I'm over that. Used to think life was strange, but it's more than that. Used to have a good heart, but I've broken that. Used to be scared of death, now I hope for that. Used to think things would change, but I'm over that. Used to think life was strange, but it's more than that. Used to have a good heart, but I've broken that. Used to be scared of death, now I hope for that.
No, that bitch no good, that was all in that. Just a real ass hood, yeah, come from that. Chapter 17 on my tummy tag. Still jugging for the ones who ain't coming back. If a biggest show they face, touching that. Shovel main at your grave, but the shovel ass. Better watch water in my bone when I'm loading that. Still wind out my lungs, bitch, I'm blowing that. Wasn't born like this, had to get fly. Made a lot of fools bleed just to get by. And I'm trying to live right, but you can still die. Fuck around and end up on the flip side.
Used to think things would change, but I'm over that. Used to think life was strange, but it's more than that. Used to have a good heart, but I'm broken that. Used to be scared of death, now I hope for that. Used to think things would change, but I'm over that. Used to think life was strange, but it's more than that. Used to have a good heart, but I'm broken that. Used to be scared of death, now I hope for that.
It was a pretty impressive video.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess just real quick to get it out of the way, was that in Ouija Max creation, that video? Or was that yours too?
Yeah, Ouija had a big part in that, in like the visual design of the video and like the themes and stuff. But I mean, not to take away from, like, I did have say in certain aspects of shit, but you know, Ouija had a really good idea, and I trust his guidance.
Yeah. Oh, you know,
I mean,
something I meant to ask you before, and I totally forgot, and your boy reminded me with his eye stuff going on. Just from experiences that I have, and I've even taken pictures of my eyes to like prove it, or to check. But sometimes when I fuck around with that shit, when I get into that meditation, I will actually get where like one pupil is pinned and the other one is fucking huge. Have you ever experienced that from the Black Sun eclipse?
I can't say that I have.
Okay.
I can't say that I've ever checked though. You know?
Yeah, next time you do one of those meditations, go into the mirror and stare at
Now
your
you're
eyes and
gonna
see what
check,
happens.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird. It's like, so like when I saw his eyes and that, sometimes it makes me think about that. You know.
Yeah.
All right. So with that video, I guess like, I guess first we'll get into it. Lyrically, what was that about for you in that song?
That song is definitely one of the more personal songs on the record.
That's what I thought. I thought it was very. You put yourself out there, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like when you're an artist, you're putting yourself out there regardless. I mean, I have nothing to hide, nothing, you know, like, yeah, there's things I'm ashamed of, but I'm not afraid of it. Like, I don't fear that anymore, you know? So I know, like, that song has, like, things that people can connect to because, I mean, a lot of us, you know, going back to, like, being a juggalo, a lot of us were, like, the outcast. A lot of us came from, like, you know, situations where we kind of needed a little bit of guidance, needed someone to talk to, you know, kind of were looked down upon for being into something that was, like, darker than, you know, Sugar Ray or whatever the fuck was playing at the time, you know, like, so, yeah, it's just, I mean, that song is pretty much like, you know, open book. Like, it's just talking about, like, coming up as, like, an outcast and feeling that way and, like, you know, thinking things would change and then realizing, like, you can't really change people, you can't really change certain things, so you kind of just got to get over that. You just got to keep moving.
No, I thought that was a pretty powerful song. You know, I think, I don't know. It reminded me, like, as a kid, I guess, like, you know, dealing with my own shit growing up, you know, got shit going on in my head. You know, my mom died when I was at a young age, so it's like, you know, people spirits down the hallway now. Like, it's just things changing, and just having crazy thoughts in your head, blaming yourself for things that probably really wasn't even your fault. You know what I'm saying? And having like low self-esteem over situations that's just like right out of your control. So like I just thought it was like really impressive. I just thought like I could see that like really hitting listeners. Some deep shit.
I appreciate that, and I hope people were able to find whatever they're looking for in it. Either you connect to it, or if you don't, you probably won't like the song. But I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like everyone has gone through things that have affected them in that type of way. Where you felt like you didn't necessarily fit in, or you have to take mood stabilizers or antidepressants or something, and it's just, it's one of those songs, like, I always try to put, like, songs like that are more realistic into the record and be like, outside of all this other shit, like, I'm a person, and I'm, like, going through shit every day, we all go through it. You could be the happiest person alive and be depressed as fuck,
That's the truth. That's the truth, man. That's real talk right there.
I love that song. I just want to say that it's probably my favorite Darby song, and I just think the video is super fascinating for many reasons, but it's the exact vibe that I like. Melodic, sad boy, horrorcore. It has everything for me. So I just want to say that while you guys are talking about it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. For real. That means a lot that you like the art.
Yeah, what was it to you, like, did you get like an idea of what was going on in the video? Like, to you, what does all that stuff mean to you?
Yeah, with the video, a lot of the videos right now kind of have like a similar thing going on, like so that's all up for the listener's interpretation. I don't want to put thoughts or words into anyone's head. Like, that's something I feel like you need to watch the videos and correlate that with yourself and what you think that is, But I mean, that video, like, being able to work with Ouija and like the squad on that, because it was the same team doing that video that did the Graveyard Shift video and Ouija Psychocidal video. So like being able to, work with everyone, that's always like,
Oh,
amazing to me.
You were there for the Psychocidal video?
I wasn't there for the Psychocidal video, but like the rest of the team that worked on like these two videos were also part of that,
The video is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a great video.
There's it's not your video, so I don't want to make a comment, but there's a lot of things in that video I thought I noticed. All right. Before we get into another song, maybe we'll go into this just to get it over with too, because I don't want to forget. For you, what is the 17?
So the 17, from my understanding, it originates from when ICP had put out their first record, and they sold 17 copies on the first day. So that was like the 17 Dead, as heard on Beverly Kills, that song. So the number 17 has always been like a very strong number in the juggalo culture, because, that was first day, 17 CDs sold. That's the beginning of all this. And it's just over time just ingrained itself into the lore as being like the number of juggalos. That's just like our number. And then Violent J has a book called Behind the Paint, and their chapter 17 is not in the book. There is no chapter 17 in the book, but there is now.
Yeah, isn't there even a shirt saying roll pages in the chapter or something like that?
Yeah, we are all the pages.
Or something,
Yeah. But that's where the 17 comes from, is from ICP and the 17 lucky people who picked up that record day one.
Yo, you got to. Who's in charge of that Chapter 17 site?
Ouija and KB.
Yeah, tell Ouija to start ordering more shirts, man. Tell him there's people out there with extra large, you know. It's like only fucking smalls left.
Yeah, there's
fuck, man. There's some fat people who want shirts too.
I know a lot of it is we try to do like limited runs of things, so the people who are there, like our first 17 people, you know, it's a very exclusive kind of club type thing where it's like, if you got it, you got it, you know.
Yo, you know what? You know what I wanted to ask? I was interested in is those tactical vests? Are those like actual like legit?
Yeah, you can put plates in those.
Because you know what's crazy is that it's actually like that's almost cheaper than if you were to buy a real one from a sporting store.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, yo, this actually be cheaper than if I went to like fucking Dick's.
Yeah. Like the vests don't come with plates in them. Like
there was some that didn't even have plates, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Like,
yeah.
I was like, I was like, you could actually buy this for like, if you really wanted one. That was interesting. There's some interesting stuff on that site.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of freshness coming out of the Chapter 17 household.
I'm sure I'll get an email. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna play "All Day a Dream About Suffering."
Gotcha.
Another night spent fighting with my vices. I am not dead yet, but sometimes I feel like it. Fill the void with substances, sit alone in silence. I always seem to fail, it's not for lack of trying. I've been thinking so low, even when I'm getting high. I've been so close to entering the other side. Nights spent alone, conversations of the mind. Life without hope, aspirations have declined. I can never do right, only do wrong. Devil in the moonlight singing me a song. I'm down for the ride, but you're dragging me along. I can only hold on for so long. I can never do right, only do wrong. Devil in the moonlight singing me a song. I'm down for the ride, but you're dragging me along. I can only hold on for so long. Another day passed and I'm searching for a purpose. Fingers stained with blood from me scratching at the surface. There's a spot in hell for me and I know that I've earned it. Dwelling in the suffering is a daily occurrence. Take me away, I don't wanna feel no more pain. Chemicals gon' save me today. Trapped within myself, I need the escape. I can never do right, only do wrong. Devil in the moonlight singing me a song. I'm down for the ride, but you're dragging me along. I can only hold on for so long. I can never do right, only do wrong. Devil in the moonlight singing me a song. I'm down for the ride, but you're dragging me along. I can only hold on for so long.
Nice. Again, like I wanted to play that because I just thought it was very different than some of his other stuff. Yeah. I assumed was that like another one that was kind of like very personal for you, like at the time when you wrote that.
Yeah, that's definitely like another one of those like introspective type songs. You know, like I said, I always try to have a couple songs on the records that are more rooted in reality as opposed to being some crazy story about a guy mass murdering people or like eating people, whatever, you know. That is definitely that's just like a song about me dealing with myself, dealing with like you know, my own insecurities and mental anguishes and depressions and anxieties. For a while, I was going for walks at night. So, like, the devil in the moonlight singing me a song is, like, you know, my feeling of, like, just being alone, walking at night, listening to, like, the beats and, like, trying to write the songs. And the line "Conversations of the Mind" comes from Devereaux, because me and him were talking, and me and him will just say a lot of, like, you know, head ass shit to each other. But sometimes we'll say things that's, like, you know, impactful. And he was like, you know, "Conversations of the Mind," and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put that in a song, you know. And then the name of it, "All Day I Dream About Suffering," you know, obviously has to deal with the context and lyrics of the song. But when Dev sent me that beat, the beat was called "Corn is a Fruit," spelled, you know, like the band Corn, which is like my second biggest influence in music. So we're like, all right, we'll pay tribute to Corn with, like, the Adidas name. So we just, instead of "All Day I Dream About Sex," suffering.
Gotcha. And I would assume that's why you're wearing Adidas outfit.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, not to really, not that I want to jump off that one, but there is, like, other stuff that I really did want to get into, questions too, that I kind of got lost at. What was some of your, I guess, influences? That was something I wanted to ask. Like, I know that I have heard you, I think, even mention Korn. I think even in your own stuff.
Yeah.
So I did assume that they, you know, were a band that you were into. And then you did even say before that you were really never into this type of stuff, like hip hop or rap. So I guess, yeah, what type of influences were you into that I guess maybe you try to emulate in your music?
So
or inspired you?
First and foremost, as I said, Insane Clown Posse. Like, that's the end all be all. That's like the main thing that got me into music and made me want to create my own music. You know, other rap stuff I listened to was like 3 6 Mafia. That was like, but all the rap that I was into, I found out about because of ICP. Like, they did a song with 3 6 Mafia, so I'm like, oh, I'll check these guys out. And I was like, oh, I really like this. Like, the production's very dark and grimy, and they're saying a lot of really fucked up shit in their lyrics. I kind of, you know, grew up like a nu metal kid, so I was really into Korn. Korn's like my favorite band of all time. I love Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, like Slaves on Dope, Static X, you know, Crazy Town. I loved R.I.P. Shifty Shell Shock. He just passed away. But, like, I love those first 2 Crazy Town records. You know, I liked a lot of punk music, like the Misfits, Descendants, Swingin' Utters, NoFX, shit like that. Honestly, a big thing that I'm into, like, that people might not think, probably would be like, what the fuck, you know, is I really like female fronted bands. So, like, I listen to like a lot of Alanis Morissette and Sneaker Pimps and Portishead, like Babes in Toyland and Hole. Like, I really like that, especially like with what I'm listening to the majority of the time being a bunch of angry fucking dudes yelling at me and shit, like violent shit. Sometimes I just need to hear like something not that. Then, you know, like, what's up?
No, I said I'm glad you mentioned Portishead because, you know, even with Alanis, the way that they play their diction and their words over the actual note itself, I hear some of that in some of your lyrics, how you play with the actual note itself to fit the actual word. I hear that and I was like, oh, it almost sounds the same, and now you just mentioned it. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And like a lot of alternative music like Dinosaur Jr. and Failure, Third Eye Blind, like shit like that. I mean, I made fun of Sugar Ray earlier, but I like Sugar Ray. I like Smash Mouth, you know. I like a lot of kind of corny music, I guess, but it's fun to me, you know. My girl recently got me into this band, Future Island, so I've been listening to them a lot. I like, I could go on forever. Like, I love Nine Inch Nails, like Mushroom Head, like I like a lot of shit, but it's all kind of like very relative to each other in a way. It's all like 7 degrees of separation with all that.
Sometimes you just need a palate cleanse also.
Yeah, for sure. Listen to Cannibal Corpse for a little bit and then put on Portishead and I'm chill.
Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
Another question I actually had. Have you ever fucked up live?
Like fucked up my lyrics?
Or like fucked up on stage or did something like you just fucked up? Has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
What's that like?
I mean, I'm a big clumsy idiot, and like I've fallen on stage. Like I did a show in Ohio one time, and I didn't realize there was like a raised platform behind me, and I move a lot when I perform. Like for a bigger dude, like I jump around a lot. Like the thing that people kind of like, I don't know, make fun of me for or whatever. Like my homies will be like, giving me some shit about is I do like a bunch of like high kicks and shit, like one man mosh pits on stage. And so I was doing that and I just fell backwards right on my head. And, like I fucked up lyrics, I mean, I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. Like we all fuck up, like I try my best to like deliver the best performance as possible. But, sometimes I'll eat shit or I'll fuck up a lyric or some shit,
Do you think people notice sometimes if you fuck up a lyric?
I don't know if like people necessarily notice because it'll usually be like a very small thing. Like I do a song, Sunderland's Wonderland, where I'll like swap like the ending of each verse because like the first verse is like, I'll scrub your fucking face off my wall. And then the second verse ends, I'll scrub your DNA off my floor, and I'll like swap those in the song sometimes. But no one really seems to notice, Now they will, because I put the sauce out there. But, yeah.
That's awesome. Jin, did you have any questions or Lisa?
Actually, I do have maybe a comment that Darby can respond to rather than a question. I'll leave it open-ended. So, Darby, this is something that Nick and I and Lisa obviously have explored when we've done the ICP series, is this idea of the horrorcore being like a hermeneutic sort of process for people to sort of deal with their feelings, but then there's also like a spiritual component where people they use the horrific sort of imagery or lyrics or things, and they use that, and it's sort of like an application into reality that they can project their own bullshit, fears, sins, whatever, all their shit. So they can project it into the carnival, into the what I call the carnal ground. So they can project it into there and then sort of work through that. Would you say that is an sort of accurate assessment of what the carnal or the carnival is and what being a juggalo is?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, they've even mentioned like, in the song Die Unveiling, the last song on Shangri-La, they kind of talk about how like, they snuck in all this shit subliminally with the wicked shit around it. So, it's a lot easier for people to relate to certain things than if you're just like wide out in the open about like, hey, be a good person, be positive and shit. People don't necessarily want to hear it like that all the time, and so like the horror aspect and like the craziness of it is just a way to kind of bring people of that nature into it and like feel welcomed,
Gotcha.
I do like how the Juggalos are a community. Like, I feel like that's one of the strongest elements about it, that you are connected even if you don't know each other, but you're connected to a shared subculture. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, like all of the people that are like my best friends, my like girlfriend, like these are all people I've met through this culture that I didn't like grow up around or anything. You know, like these are all people like I've met through this community and made like incredible one of a kind bonds with that I don't think a lot of people could find anywhere else.
Do you have anything, Lisa, before I move on to the next one?
I do just a little bit. I noticed that there's a lot of anatomical, physiological references in your lyrics, especially kind of like with and stuff that is not just, you would have to have either known about this stuff or you've read about this stuff, become very familiar with the stuff. And so to me, that's extremely intriguing because it's so layered, and then how it fits into the lyrically. Kind of like with your shaman requires sacrifice for his services, you talk about immortality, gator spine. And I wonder, does he know? And from a biological aspect, obviously the spinal column of alligators and crocodiles too contain pluripotent stem cells. And it has been long known that the stem cells of alligators are virtually immune to all bacteria, viruses, and cancers. And that is what contributes to their longevity. And so when you say immortality of gator spine, it's like, wow, that's exactly why they're investigating some of the stem cells in these species. And so to me, it stuck out, and I was like, this is really cool. Like, I wonder if this is what he's talking about, if this is what he's referencing. And so I don't know, that was one. And then the one room with the moose, it sounds like taxidermy to me. You know, the bones being glass, because it's mainly fiberglass and resin, and then kind of pulling the actual pelt over like saran wrap or like plastic, and then going into some of the specifics of it. To me, it sounds very much like taxidermy. And growing up in the South, everybody goes hunting. We all know about this stuff. And so it almost seemed like, wow, he knows a lot about physiology, a lot about anatomy. And to me, that was extremely fascinating.
Yeah, I'm not the smartest guy, you know. There's things I've like read that I've retained, and you know, and then I just, when I'm writing songs, I've been told I'm very descriptive. So I'll like look things up and I'll read about them, you know, and I'll read about like the anatomy and like what bone goes where, and like how can I make this as like gruesome but realistic as possible. You know, it's almost like there's like trauma movies, and then there's Silence of the Lambs, and like with like Room with a Moose, that's kind of like a white room surgical thing where it's like, you know, really kind of digging deep into that side of things.
Right.
So,
no, I was fascinated with it. Yeah.
No, I'm like you had asked earlier, you know, like I am fascinated by like the human body and the restraints and how things work together and how they can also be taken apart. Yeah.
I think I did have a question that I was going to ask, but I wasn't going to, but you know, maybe I just might as well now. Are you interested in like how, like, have you looked into like, I guess, the relationship of the eyeball and the brain? Like, have you like looked into stuff like that? The relationship.
I can't really say I have, no.
Okay. All right. No, just one.
I mean, I'm sure like, you know, one of my late night scrolls through Twitter, I've like read articles about it, you know, that might have influenced something I've said, if like you're referring to it from like a lyric or something, but just off top, I haven't like gone out of my way to research that, no.
Okay. Just wondering. And then, all right, there was, I didn't play it, and I'm probably not going to, only because I do want to wrap this up soon. It's been a while. I don't want to keep you on too long. But this was another song that, to me, touched me because it was very much kind of, again, like an experience that I had. And when I read the lyrics, I'm sure, like, maybe you'll even understand what I'm getting at. But I just want to read these, and then I want to ask you, like, you know, if, whatever. I just want to ask you to explain it, maybe. So I can feel the pain of dying many different times. I've brought I'm brought before the witch. She recites ancient incantation. I've become weightless, my soul and body separated. She puts her dagger in my chest and twists it with no hesitation. Then they drag my body deep within the den of Satan. Living is a crime to those who roam within the other side. And once you die, you become theirs to do whatever they may like. Trapped forever in the darkest corners of the brightest light, stretched between seconds where day fades out and turns into night. I mean, besides, I think the lyrics just being like actually pretty fucking deep as hell and pretty wild. For me, like when I had mentioned before, I guess like having those meditations, and when I see that eclipse, I guess maybe like feeling the pain of dying many times. You know, I do think when it comes to like having those magical experiences, I do think there is some sort of actual real like death and rebirth. You know, I do think that's actually one of the things about magic that I think is like kind of a misconception that I don't think people actually even want to contemplate. But like if you're really, really, really going to fuck with magic, you're actually really fucking with mortality, I think, to an extent. But so from my opinion, a lot of times when I have my experience and then unfortunately have to open up my eyes back here, I think the rest really, after you say I've become weightless, my soul and my body separated, that's the feeling I get when I hang around that eclipse. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but again, like I saw that, it made me think about that, and then the rest of the, I guess, the song, to me, is kind of like the shitty feeling I have physically after the experience. Was that anything close to like that?
So that song, and I have like a few songs that are kind of like that, where it's I guess it would be like painting the image of a hellscape, right? I have really fucked up dreams. I have really, really weird dreams that really put me in that type of situation, like dying 1,000 times, like dying just to be reborn and die again, and like a never-ending loop of that. It's like a reoccurring part of dreams that I have, you know. So a lot of that imagery comes from like things I see like just in my head when I'm dreaming, or like when I'm just like really deep in thought. That's just like what's going on inside my head, you know. And I mean, for me, it's cool because like it makes a really good, cool sounding song, you know, because like there's going to be people that pick up on like different tones or different feelings from the song or different meanings, and then there's people that are going to be like, oh, that just sounds cool as hell, you know.
Well, just like just like what I just did.
Yeah, you know, like, but that for me definitely comes from like dreaming and like what's going on behind my eyes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Darby, I have a quick question for you. If you want to share it or not, that's okay. But this has come up a lot, is that a lot of people have been speaking about these kind of Dakini, I guess, experiences where they see the kind of the witch that you describe, or the red lady, as to play off what Nick was saying about the Scarlet Whore. So have you ever seen that in your dreams? Because to me, it sounds very similar to like conceptions that I've had, or that we have in Buddhism or whatever. So I want to know like where you're getting this archetype and sort of like you're building her out to be a familiar character.
So the witch, calling this like entity the witch, is a reference to ICP. So ICP has a record called Hell's Pit, which is the second half of the Six Jokers card of the first deck. So the witch is this character that's kind of like woven throughout the record, and there's a song called The Witch. And I mean, it even goes back to Isham. Back in the day, Isham said the line, "The witch jumped on my back last night." And so the witch is just like how me as a juggalo, I've been able to personify this force or whatever you may call it, you know. And it's just like the witch is like the all evil, you know. I don't know, like you would call it a devil or what you would call it, but the witch is like the embodiment of like all the evils. So like in my head, like it's like a different thing, but to connect with the listeners and the fan base by saying the witch, juggalos will understand exactly what I'm talking about because they'll understand the reference, you know.
Gotcha. Fair enough. All right. Unfortunately, I mean, I have so many questions I didn't even get to that it was like really totally more on like making videos and recording stuff, but I'm not going to keep you on here forever, and it is getting late. I appreciate you coming on, Darby. That was that interview went a hell of a lot better than I even expected. Had a lot more fun than I thought. So, yeah. All right. So Lisa and Jen are done. You want to let people? You want to like plug anything coming up? You want to promote like any of your stuff?
I have a new record coming out later this year. Right now, the most important record on the way is Dark Planet, Ouija's next record. It comes out in July. Fuck, I'm awful. I forgot the exact date. But Dark Planet is coming. That's like the next big thing coming from Chapter 17. But I have a collaboration record with Sagan Umo, who is an artist from Spain. He was on the song Poison in Magenta from Creek. We have a whole record together, and then this next record I'm working on, or have been working on, is kind of a departure from Creek because there's not as much introspective songs, but it's a lot of high energy, kind of violent. It's my angry album, I guess you would say. So, there's that. Gathering of the Juggalos is coming up. I'll be at Tom Wood's Float this year, which is Labor Day weekend, which is a dope festival that Tom puts on every year. And, more shows are going to be popping up soon.
Do you guys ever get anywhere close to New York?
Yeah, we were just in New York. Last year, we were in Syracuse and somewhere else. I forgot. But yeah, the first leg of the Revelation Store, we had a couple of dates in New York. Ouija was in New York with the Three-Headed Monster tour, the second leg of that. So,
that's a crazy album.
Yeah.
It's a sick album. You know the one with the Isham and Violent J, right?
Yeah.
I actually really like Cobblestone and Red Pavement. That shit's off the hook.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are really good records.
Yeah. No, I saw you tweeting something about like kind of like your next. I think your next stuff was going to be the most like kind of like real horrorcore.
Yeah, it's just very like high energy. Devereaux is like my main producer, but for this record, Devereaux is doing like the majority of the production still, but there's also production from Shaggy the Airhead and Jigsaw, and they just kind of help bring like a different element to the record. And then there's cuts from DJ Chunk on a couple songs, and then there's a couple pretty cool features that are going to be on there. But more about that will come out soon. First, Dark Planet.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Are you on there?
No.
Oh, that's nice of you. You're promoting his stuff. You're not even on that. Nice.
Hey, Ouija's my brother. He's one of my best friends, and that is an incredible record. And I'm a fan of his. So it's like, that's my boy putting on an incredible work of art that I feel like is going to be appreciated for many years to come.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more of it. Yes. All right. Yeah, so I guess keep an eye out for that stuff. Darby, again, that really went well. I had a really cool time hanging out, talking to you.
Oh yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on, man, and spending the time, especially almost 2 hours. All the people on the live, I really apologize. Normally, I pay attention to the chat, but with this guest, I really wanted to pay more attention to them. So I really couldn't, comment or say much back. But I appreciate everybody showing up, and I appreciate everybody jumping in the chat and commenting. That's what's up. That's why I go live. I appreciate it. Jin, real quick, do you want to promote? You want to let everybody know where they can find your stuff?
Sure. Let me just say thank you so much to Darby. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you so much, Lisa, for letting me be a part of the series. And of course, being an Occult Reject. I love that. And yeah, Darby, I'm a big fan. I think you do great work. I love your music. I'm excited that you're doing a new album. I'm more of I like the more melodic sad boy stuff, but I'll still fuck with the high energy horrorcore stuff. So thank you so much for doing this. And people can check me out. Threshold Saints. It's Asian esoterica, tantric Buddhism. Beatty just did an episode on Lana Del Rey and her birth chart and how we think she's a witch. So people can go check that out. And so there you go.
Nice. That's funny. Like I said last time, I mean, I've actually looked at some of her lyrics and I was like, damn, that's some deep shit. So you never know. Lisa, real quick, do you want to let anybody know how they can get in touch with you in case they have any whatever questions or whatever?
Sure, absolutely. I wanted to say, Darby, thank you again for allowing us to kind of pick your brain about the artistic side, and very, very much enjoyed it. Very, very honored to be able to speak with you on that. And Lisa on Twitter is Solis Lisa, or Lisa Solis on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And that is the end of another Occult Rejects. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.